Okay, so how insane was the Eagles' open practice? With unexpected roster moves right before, Nolan Smith taking on Lane Johnson, 50,000 Birds fans showing up to show love, and Jalen Hurts firing an absolute dart to A.J. Brown, that and everything else from the link. But first, let's run it. Alright, let's get right into it. The Birds recently made several roster moves, waiving injured wide receiver Charleston Rambo and signing interior offensive lineman Josh Andrews, which that name probably sounds familiar, with the 32-year-old vet having begun his career in Philly back in 2014. Andrews spent his rookie year on the Eagles practice squad before playing 16 games over the following 2 seasons, and then spending time with the Colts, Jets, Falcons, and Saints. All told, Andrews has played in 48 games with 9 starts at a variety of positions, evidenced by the notable snap counts at left guard, center, and right guard. I really like this signing because it provides the depth, and like O-line coach Jeff Stoutland said, you need versatility if you're going to be a backup in this league. The other big news, which you know by now, is that the Birds have released linebacker Davion Taylor again. It's honestly sad to see, especially with Taylor having been a 3rd-round pick in 2020, although I'm pretty sure there were many of us that really didn't love the pick back then. Unfortunately, by being cut sorely in camp, it's not likely that he's going to be a candidate for the practice squad, but I really do wish him the best. The bigger news to come from this was that almost immediately after, Phil Yates revealed that both Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham had worked out with Philly, naturally sending everyone into a frenzy.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the procedure, everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
We didn't even get to speculate for long, with Howie Roseman pulling the trigger, signing both linebackers to 1-year deals. Because who says you can only have one? Especially when you're in an incredibly desperate situation, according to John McMullen, who thinks one of the 2 vets will get first-team reps as soon as possible. Yet apparently, head coach Nick Sirianni hasn't been as anxious with the linebackers.
No indication on the room itself. Pleased with the room. Just wanted, we were low at numbers there, and we wanted to bring in some competition to further drive the level up, because that's all that competition does. That's why it's one of our core values. So and like you said, Rube, they have experience, and that's a good thing.
Are we really buying that from Sirianni? Look, I love the HC as much as anyone, but I feel like this was another one of those instances where Sirianni's trying to downplay the concerns by talking up the rest of the room, because I highly doubt you double down on vets like this if you felt better about guys like Christian Ellis, Nicholas Morrow, Sean Bradley, and Ben Van Sumeren. Yes, I know the Eagles did do something similar last season in signing Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, but that was different and in the middle of the season. I really don't feel like this is a mercenary market type of deal, but what do you guys think? And also, who do you think is the better signing between Myles Jack and Zach Cunningham? Personally, I'd agree with NFL analyst Marcus Whitman, who said Jack is whatever, but Zach Cunningham is so underrated. And continuing on with Cunningham is so good when healthy, him and his run defense next to Nakobe Dean could be perfect. Now, before anybody freaks out, I don't think these guys are foolproof, nor am I crazy enough to think that Howie is not going to get anything else done or doesn't make another move for a linebacker if neither of these guys work out. Although Whitman does make a good point that with Cunningham's 6'3", 230 frame, along with really impressive run defense, he could prove to be a great addition. However, on the flip side, I've seen the argument that the 28-year-old's missed tackle percentage has increased each year from 8% as a rookie to 14.8% last season. I'd take those stats with a grain of salt, considering Cunningham only played 5 games last season, so there's a small sample size. I don't know, maybe Jack is the answer, and I'm not really saying he isn't. It just seems like based on his last couple seasons, he hasn't been able to keep up the same level of play that he had for the first 3 to 4 years in the league. Yet far be it from me to say he can't do that, especially behind this D-line, and I'd love to see a resurgence. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that in the comments and who you're excited about most. Talking about pure screaming, no regard for human life excitement, okay, that's probably a bit dramatic, but boy do we love our Birds. Not judging, by the way. Y'all know this is just practice, right? Who am I kidding? I would have been hyped like crazy to be there, as it was reported 50,000 plus fans showed up at the open practice. Definitely making an impression on the players, with Slay saying, "Philly, y'all showed out tonight. We love y'all, best fans in the world." And Kayvon Wallace sharing that it felt like 100,000 fans the way the link was rocking. Yes, everybody already knows it, but we have the best fans in the world. Even the new acquisitions looked pretty much in awe by the fan support, thinking, bro, if this is just just practice? What's it going to be like during a game? Nice to see the unis too. Notice the digits with Jack in 47 and Cunningham in 46. The best GM in football was feeling it as well, knowing he struck gold once again. Obviously, we all hope to finish the job this year, but it was cool to see the Eagles reveal the NFC Champions banner up at the link last night. Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie was dapping up the running backs, excited to see Agent Zero and Rashad Penny get in some work, and before practice announced a special new initiative with the Eagles Autism Foundation where the team is building a new popcorn concession stand at the link that will employ adults with autism and intellectual disabilities. I just love the impact the Birds have in the community, and such good news there, which speaking of the good news, Sirianni shared that Nakobe Dean is close to getting back, but decided to hold him out along with James Bradbury, Deion Kane, and Patrick Johnson. And we'll continue to say this, but thankfully no major injuries up to this point. However, with Dean still sidelined, it was noteworthy to see Christian Ellis wearing the green dot during practice. Perhaps even more noteworthy was the fact that Sean Bradley got the first rep at off-ball linebacker next to Christian Ellis and not Nicholas Morrow, followed by John McMullen sharing that Ben Van Sumeren broke the first team huddle. Definitely not something I expected to see this summer. To be fair, Morrow did get reps at first team, but it's never a great sign when you're losing out the first team reps to guys like Sean Bradley and Van Sumeren before Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham joined the team. Unfortunately, at this point for Morrow, I feel like he's closer to not making the roster than he is to getting a starting spot, but what do you think? It also doesn't help his case when the Eagles go to a big nickel package since Terrell Edmonds has been the one subbing in with Kayvon Wallace and Reed Blankenship playing safety. For those wondering, it was Christian Ellis who remained on the field as the lone linebacker with Terrell Edmonds frequently coming down into the box, which I'm really excited to see that formation more from Desai because it confuses quarterbacks and allows versatile playmakers to get on the field. So we mentioned Kayvon Wallace starting next to Blankenship, but Sidney Brown definitely turned some heads, looking like he's ready to hit someone as he was constantly steaming downhill, but pulling up just in time since, they're obviously not allowed to tackle much. The Rook did shoot across the field to take down Kennedy Brooks in the very limited live tackle time they got, with ESPN's Tim McManus noting Brown's closing speed really stands out. Another takeaway from practice is the ever-growing legend of Nolan Smith, where he constantly generated pressure during 11-on-11s, making life very difficult for Marcus Mariota, and leaving CBS's Jeff Kerr to credit him with 1.5 sacks on the backup QB while also flashing in one-on-ones against Lane Johnson. No, he technically didn't beat Pave the Lane, but by all accounts, he made Lane work.
I'm not comparing him to this guy, but you see Micah Parsons, a guy that was tremendous speed, undersized, was at linebacker, and then they put him on the line of scrimmage, and you see what he's doing now. So a guy with that type of quickness, that type of burst, is a threat every time he's on the ball because he can get a tackle turned, and once he does that, he can kind of have his way. It's him as a young guy, as he develops to get stronger, and he can have a good power game and then set up everything off of that. It's going to be tough to stop him. And what I like about Nolan is he is a sponge, man. He's always asking questions. He's always a positive kid, too. He reminds me a lot of BG with just the positivity every day and what he brings. So, I think the sky's the limit for him, and he's just scratching what he's going to be.
That's awesome to get praise like that from Lane, but does anybody have footage of the one-on-one reps of Superman taking on Pave the Lane? I struck out, and I can't find it anywhere. But thankfully, the Eagles at least shared some clips of a recent battle between Lane and BG. I just wish we could get some of the rooks like Nolan or Jalen Carter. Unfortunately, one of the rookies we didn't get to see much of was Moro Ajomo after getting poked in the eye and leaving the field. I don't think he ever returned, or at least I never saw a tweet about it. So hopefully he's okay, but by all accounts, the 21-year-old had been performing well, although still going to be really tough for him to make the roster. One big man who's been on the rise recently and had the best rep of the night, according to Dave Zangaro, was Marlon Tuipulotu, knocking Julian Good-Jones on the seat of his pants. Sure, it's not like he did that against Landon Dickerson or Cam Jurgens, but his name continues to pop up and he really continues to build on an impressive camp, so I'll be curious to see if he can keep it up. Stop me if you've heard this before. Mekhi Garner had an impressive showing as he was flying all around the field, further convincing Jeff Kerr he could very easily make the team. I love his physicality and what he brings to the team, yet it'll be tough considering 5 guys are almost a for sure lock. If you think about it, you got Slay, Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, and Zach McPherson, because Maddox injury concerns kind of leave us all skeptical, and then there's Keely Ringo, which makes 5, so that leaves Josh Jobe or Mekhi Garner if you're only going to take 6. I kind of hope the Eagles consider taking 7 CBs, and then you wouldn't have to make as tough of a decision, but how are you guys feeling? Hopefully better than Josh Jobe is after getting mossed last night by A.J. Brown. I mean, there's not a lot you can do against the Jalen to Swole Batman connection. Good defense just met better offense, and definitely not the last time we're going to see something like that this year. We should also take this time to wish Mr. Breed of One Jalen Hurts a happy 25th birthday, who is the only player in NFL history with at least 40 touchdown passes and 30 rushing touchdowns before turning 25 years old. It was nice to see Jalen rebound a little bit after a struggling practice on Friday, starting out with connections to A.J. Brown and then finding Devontae Smith before getting some pressure on the next play and being forced to roll out to the far side, finding tight end Dallas Goedert in space for the first down, as he ended practice with a solid 13 for 19 with 1 touchdown and 0 interceptions. But the biggest highlight play of the day was the perfect strike mentioned a second ago during the situational drill, where the Eagles were down 8 with 46 seconds to play and 1 timeout from the 25-yard line, where Hurts actually had a 4th and 4, but was able to scramble for a first down and keep the drive alive. And then on the very next play, showcased that precision-type pocket passer accuracy that everyone wants to see by unleashing a laser to A.J. Brown, who rose over Job to snag the touchdown. I can't get enough different camera angles, although some people weren't 100% sure it was a touchdown. It seems like every media report called it a score, and you really think I'm gonna doubt Jalen and A.J. here? Although I'm curious if the link showed a slow-mo clip, because I couldn't find anything except for this picture, which obviously that's after the fact and a little bit late, but it doesn't really matter. Yet I've got the feeling that the doubter on that catch was the random lunatic Cowboys fan who thought it'd be a good idea to show up to Eagles practice and wave the Dallas flag. Thankfully, it looked like it didn't take long until security was escorting them out. But thanks for the donation to the Eagles Autism Foundation, I suppose. Back to the 2-minute drill. It's probably notable that Kenny Gainwell was the running back for that portion, which, as we know, was his role last season, and it's clear Sirianni trusts him. As if we didn't know already the head coach had confidence in playoff Kenny, notice the t-shirt Sirianni went with in his presser. Hard to tell where the confidence level is at with Marcus Mariota, though. After continuing to struggle as a passer, having 3 straight overthrows during a 2-minute drill, and resorting to running the football where he actually had some moderate success, although I guess it wasn't all bad since he did end up finding Joseph Ngata for a score showcasing a nifty pass, but the inconsistency still lingers. I don't think I'm at the point of worrying about this, but the concern level is definitely rising. How about you guys though? Do you think that we should be worried about Mariota's inconsistency yet? One constant was that Cam Jurgens remained the first team right guard and then took over at center once the Eagles decided to let Kelsey and Lane rest, where Tyler Steen then moved to right guard. And although the right guard isn't 100% settled, it feels like it's as close to it as possible, amplified by Pave the Lane's most recent comments.
Cam's the war daddy. He comes in, he's super strong. That's the first thing I noticed about him in the weight room, just what type of numbers he's putting up, like 550 in front squat. So one of the strongest guys on the team. What I noticed in practice is just how unbelievably quick he is. A lot like Kelsey when it comes to snap quickness, getting on the second level. He's very good in the screen game, very good getting up to the linebackers. So, the longer I play with him, the more reps that I get, the better our chemistry is going to be.
So perhaps Brian Baldinger will end up being proven wrong for his comments about Lane and Jurgens if things keep up the way they're going, but the more reps, the better. And that's definitely the case for the punters, with neither guy having an above-average day. Although based on Jimmy Kempski's numbers, you definitely have to give the nod to Siposs at the open practice session. Perhaps it was nerves, or maybe this is just what we're gonna get. However, according to Jimmy, it wasn't just the punters, as this was the team's worst practice day, with the offense being sloppy all night, committing multiple pre-snap penalties, drops, missed throws, and just flat out bad snaps. Jimmy at least admitted the defense made its share of plays, but the offense just had far too many unforced errors. I don't love to hear that, but I want to know what you guys think, especially for those of you that made it to open practice. Did Jimmy get it right? Was it bad? Should we be alarmed? Or do we pump the brakes on that narrative at least a little bit? Either way, it sounds like Sirianni wants to get in more practice, as the Birds added another open practice for tomorrow, Tuesday, so we'll have more to break down from the media reports. This has been the Philly Special.